recording. Hello, this is feedback session for July month. And I'm truly happy to see you here. And yeah, I wonder if the recorded session will have my voice, but you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Let's start. I have quite a lot of your work sent in, which is truly amazing to see you all work. It was like June, May and June was a little bit quieter month, maybe some family things, summer beginning, but now I can see that everybody starts to paint, starts to work, and that is great. Okay, we can start. I will share my screen. And I will start from the beginning, the first one that I received. I have, okay, this is a banana flower. And this is not my tutorial. Again, I welcome you send in also paintings from other tutorials or your own paintings. Just send me please a reference as well so I can compare and give you suggestions. Here we have a banana flower, and I would like to see more light here. It's not so dark. So this stem is a bit too dark and lost light. And because it is all even, it doesn't look roundish. For example, here we can see that there are this darker area here. Then we have cast shadows from these things that are a little bit sticking out of the stem. Everything here is quite even. And when we have even, no tonal values, then it's going to look flat. On the other hand, this one is having a nice area of shadows here as well. A little bit more light would be nice here. Amazing that the light is here. Yeah, stem is here the main problem. Everything else looks very good, very good. Also these ones, so let's zoom in closer. Yeah, very good. Maybe more tonal value on the left side because they also are, those stamens are roundish, and to make them round we need to add a little bit more tonal values. Next one, we have this succulent, also not my tutorial, but very beautiful reference. And now here with light, everything is amazing. As I can see this succulent, it's not finished. You can work more, add more shadows. You are missing shadows. Look how dark these leaves of the succulent are, closer to the middle. So look at this one. This is completely light. Look at this one. Then these ones. This one. Look at this one, how dark it is. And yours is completely light. And you can paint more. This, another 30 minutes, even hour, will give an amazing result. Just don't lose light. Look at the few areas that are in the shadow. For example, this area. Just paint it darker, the very upper part. Look, let's take a closer look here. This one is darker, and then it becomes lighter. Yes, so when you're adding shadow, add it here, not everywhere. Let's go further. Also here, shadow, light, shadow, a little bit darker. Then this one, shadow right on the right side. Look at this one. Then this one, look how dark it is. And that's how you go and compare. When you're looking and comparing with the reference side by side, you notice that you need to add more contrast. Middle is great, light leaves are great, more contrast with the shadow. Okay, next one. I have, wait, I can't move it a little bit. Okay. And let's make it a little bit smaller. Beautiful star, Christmas star in the summer, and it is pink, so beautiful. What is happening here? Everything looks good, and maybe some contrast is missing because the front line of the leaves, these are leaves. If you don't know, this is not a flower. These are also leaves. Flower is these little things here. These green are leaves and pink are leaves. Only flower is this part. So the first line of the flower of these leaves are light, yes, but the second line, look how the second line, which is underneath the first line of the leaves, they are becoming darker. We need to separate, like could be a little bit more here, here, then definitely here. This one, look how it's competing. Which one comes first? We can't really separate them because they are in the same tonal value. But if we look here, we can clearly see that this one is darker. It goes behind, it goes away from us. Look at this one, it should be darker. And with the leaves, also a little bit more gradual transition from the darkest to the light. This one is darkest. And also these white edge lines, they are really nice that you left them. But for example, if this leaf is in the shadow, this part is in the shadow, then this white edge line is also in the shadow. It can't be the same lightness as this one. So shadow right over here and right over here, even for this white line. More work, keep light areas light, a little bit more contrast. Then I have cranberries. This is an interesting, it is from my tutorial, from this little cranberry. And an artist put them all together in this beautiful composition. And it's looking really interesting and so rich. I really like this idea of a composition. What you could do, you can add more shadows where the leaves are overlapping each other. Here shadow, here shadow. And this one. Lights are amazing. I would add a little bit more contrast. All these leaves look quite even. A little bit more separation would be beautiful. These also a little bit shadow the berries that are the further ones, like this one, this one, this one. If you will add more layers, they will go instantly a little bit deeper into the composition and also creating this more volume and three-dimensional look. This is really nice. This is really nice. Then we have Fritillaria. And sorry, I will quickly find the reference. I didn't open the reference. Fritillaria. Okay. Okay. So here is the Fritillaria. And also contrast. Look how these ones are getting deeper and darker. All these four of yours are in the same tonal value. We need to separate them with a little bit darker layer. Here could be more work. Here on the upper part, on these petals that are more underneath and deeper. Also, these leaves are way darker. This one, this one, this one, then this one. Look how dark is this one. So a little bit more work, and I like that light is light. A lot of light in this painting. Also, maybe this part of the stem could be a little bit dark. So another 30 minutes, and it will be, it will have separated flower heads and some leaves. Oh, I had, okay. Then another one, another succulent, which is also not my tutorial. And I know the student is struggling with light, but now the light is getting really light, and that is amazing. That is a big step forward, because a long time she was completely covering all light areas, but now this last month she did a really big jump towards the more realistic and full of light paintings. And with watercolors, we need light to get this more lifelike result. And I would add a little bit more contrast. Let's take a look at few leaves of this succulent. Look, for example, at this area, this one. And here it is here, and this one is here. A little bit more. And with the succulent, there are so many leaves. So you go and check each leaf, compare to reference, come back to your painting and add a little bit more, without losing light. And go over, middle part is good, maybe a little bit more darkness here, because this is go way too deep into that succulent, and it's getting darker and darker, not lighter and lighter, but darker and darker, because it goes deeper. And then you go and check all the areas. For example, here, here. Look how beautiful this cast shadow is. Add it a little bit here. Then you are comparing, going for, look at how this dark is. Add it more here. And then it will instantly look more three-dimensional. And here, compared to the reference, here she almost lost light. It's the same student and more light. This is the dark subject. Dark subjects painting is a long and quite tricky process, because you need to build those layers of transparent watercolors until you receive this saturation and this darkness. Let's compare this one flower. Here it is, and in the painting. Dark, middle, yes, it even can go darker, but this part should be light and this should be much lighter. Then it creates this contrast that is curved and there's something going deeper. So more light and even a little bit darker this middle part. Look how dark here it is. You can even go darker, but yeah, light is crucial here. For example, this little curve, it should be way lighter. This little curve. These little curves are the juicy parts of this composition, and there the light is crucial. In watercolor painting, light, what gives the painting this life? And if we look, when we have too saturated and losing light, it becomes a little bit dull. It loses the vibrancy of watercolors. But now she's making big progress with paint, using light, and that is amazing. Now we have Plum, this month tutorial. A little bit more shadow could be here. Wait a second, somebody's writing in the chat. I have a question. Oh yeah, I can't hear you, so write your question. I will read it.
I want to just, because you
need to write it. I can't hear you. Yeah, I don't know. Today's Zoom not friendly with me. Okay, let's wait for the question. I wonder if it is dark. If it is dark, could we just replace the lighter color on it, or we need to add water? Are you asking about the finished painting or during, if the finished or during the painting process? If during the painting process, you shouldn't be painting with dark and saturated watercolor mixes.
I wonder if it's the date or not.
No, if it's like finished painting, yes?
Yeah. No.
No. Let me show you. I already turned it off. So it was about this callus, this deep purple callus. It's already too dark and you can't move out. And if you will add white gouache, it will lose the vibrancy of watercolors. With white gouache, you will block completely and everything will look like, of course, for example, from distance, you will be looking and it will give some better look, but that's why there are different mediums. When we have acrylics, we have gouache, we have oils. When we are painting, and at the last point, we're adding white pigment to make light areas. With watercolors, this is different pigment. This is transparent pigment, which goes with layering, and we are leaving light from the beginning. The paper is the light. Paper, nothing can beat with watercolors the whiteness of the paper. Even if the paper is slightly creamy color, it will still be much lighter than painting white pigment. And that's the characteristics of watercolors, that we are layering, leaving light, reserving this area for the light from the beginning. Later on, if that book, for example, let's look at this plum. If this area is quite light, we can remove some watercolors here. But like, for example, here, it's already many layers of dark watercolors and we can't remove. And I always say in my tutorials, with watercolors, there's no problem to go darker. Problem is to make something lighter. That's why we need to keep light area wider from the beginning, so we finish with the right amount of, for example, this plum could have a little bit more darkness here. So there's no problem. You can add shadow more at any point. But if that would be too dark, that would be a problem. Like with this cauliflower, it's already too dark. You can't just start to remove, you will start to damage paper surface. But I would add a little bit shadow here. Perfect area for light. Leaves are also great. Maybe veins could be slightly thinner. More contrast for this leaf, definitely for this area. Look how dark it is. More darkness here. Also, you need to separate these leaves. We can't even, I can't tell which is where. That's because this one, look, shadow, missing shadow, 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 need more shadow here. But plum could have a little bit more shadow right over here. You see, a little bit. I will leave, here's the start of the plum. Very nice start and beautiful gradual transitions. And shadow is very subtle. A little bit more gradual, I would ask for this area. You can go with a round synthetic brush. Let's move it closer. And smooth this line with clean water and clean brush. Smooth this area to make it more, so to lose this crisp edge line. Make it more gradual, like darker, then there are half tones, and then leave the completely white area a little bit more. And we can see from the reference that it's smaller, so you can definitely go with the clean synthetic brush and smooth this area. Try to slightly rub around with clean, slightly moist synthetic brush, and it will smooth out. This paper will handle. This is, you wrote that this is 600 GSM paper. So it will handle manipulations with synthetic brush. Clean, slightly moist, slightly rub around this line, and it will become more smoother. Very nice start. Don't add anything to this area. A little bit more shadow right over here for greater contrast. Okay. Then I don't remember having more plum, but I will move it down. Then I have this peony. And these lines, it looks like Perlin Violet is a little bit too saturated. Even if go for a very sharp shadow edge line, when the reference is taken in a direct sunlight, we have a very strict end and beginning of the shadow and end of light. No transitions, no gradual transitions. But if you want to go for that, then Perlin Violet like this is too dark and too intense. Look how calm this shadow is. Yes, there are strict line, but still the shadow part is much calmer. This really jumps out. This line also. These lines, they are jumping out. But beautiful brushwork, beautiful light area. Greens are also this line is slightly more calmer, these shadow area. Build them gradually. Don't go straight with saturated watercolor mixes. I know it's tempting to rush things up, but because this little leaf is off, it's open, but your looks like it's stuck to the flower head. That's the difference. Look, there's no direct shadow on this little leaf, but yours look like it's stuck to the flower head. So these little nuances are, when you are achieving better and better results, you need to look for little things where you can improve. And you are definitely improving with each new work. This is amazing. Where we have lemon. And yeah, a little bit more work on leaves. This is vein completely in the shadow compared to the reference. Look, it's in the shadow. This part is in the light. It goes light, and then why it is so bright. It's the same brightness as this vein, but these are in the light and this is in the shadow. So little things, notice little things. Make this vein thinner. It's not so thick here. Also, this one could be thinner. About the lemon, maybe light area a little bit more. Bigger this transition. Sorry, this transition. It's a little bit too wide. You can make it, and this light area is not completely white. You can cover with little lemon yellow dots and make it more subtle and more calmer. More contrast here. And yeah, a little bit here. Look at how these beautiful things are with the secondary veins and shadows. Switch off. Rhododendron leaves. Beautiful work. I can see that you painted really careful and didn't rush things. Also, the saturation is really great here. What really got my attention are two things. This is too obvious line where the shadow starts and ends This is too, it looks like it's not a beautiful curve like here. It's slightly roundish. These rhododendron leaves are roundish, but here it looks like it's folded because of the very intense this finishing and starting line. And this little thing is really getting my attention, which shouldn't. Look how it's go into the shadow and almost disappearing, and yours is very bright and a little bit thick. You can make it thinner and paint over, make this part in the shadow so it goes deeper. It's just another few layers, and then you will completely change this area. Look, it's in the shadow. And for this one, you can also add more halftones here and make it smoother, this transition. Look how smooth it is here. Okay. Otherwise, it's beautiful. This is a really advanced tutorial. Now we have Daisy. This middle part would have more shadow. And yeah, it will build contrast. Stem, more shadow on the right side to make it more rounder. A little bit shadows here. Look at this part. Little bit shadows here. And these ones, look how dark these ones here. Look at these ones. They are much darker, and it will build this also, this illusion, this more realistic look. A little bit more work. Light is completely okay. No worries about light, but more layers for the contrast. The same thing here. Light is amazing. We have enough light, enough of volume and three-dimensional, and now you can paint a little bit more. I'm talking about the flower head to build more contrast. Here, 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 here. This one, look, compare. Then this one is darker. Leaves are amazing. Leaves are just amazing. They're so lifelike. They're so with the movement. Leaves are amazing. Perfect. Flower head needs more work. It looks like it's not finished. Leaves are super work. Like, I think you spend more time on leaves rather than on flower head. But leaves are really beautiful. Bravo. Because leaves are always the tricky part. But you did great with leaves, and flower head, more work. And it will be perfect. Now, strawberry from last year's tutorial. Contrast in the shadow area. Don't touch this area, it's already good. These seeds need a little bit darkness in the shadow, because these seeds in the shadow and in the light are the same in your painting, but of course also seeds are lighter in light and darker in shadow. Shadow here, look, and not shadow at the very edge. Here we have a reflected light area, beautiful. Look at this. But shadow is just a little bit off the right side edge, and it will look instantly more rounder, but still beautiful. I really like it. It looks beautiful. This painting, a reference, student had a few questions, and she mixed one reference of a plum together with different from leaf, different reference for leaves, and she said that don't bother about the not correct veins and leaves. That's great that you can see that, especially this vein is completely off, it's not correct. But about the reference, be very careful when you are mixing different references. This plum and this leaf, they are interacting with each other. You remove this leaf and left the shadow. Look, this leaf is casting shadow. You remove this leaf and left the shadow. And then there's light, but there's no light because this leaf is covering. So, and you said that there's no information, and I am repeating and telling that be very careful with painting realistic paintings without reference. Our imagination can't be so vivid like real life. We just can't get all information without looking at real life subject or a reference. Everything is in the reference. How light is hitting the surface, how it is acting on the curved areas, because these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves are all in different direction, differently curved, and the light source is just one, and it's hitting the air surface in different areas. You can't just have shadow. I can clearly see that there's light source coming here. It's coming from this area. This is coming from this area. So we have 2 suns already. Then this is, I don't get like this part is coming from here because this is more like in the, this part should be in the shadows. So there's 3rd sun in this reference. And look at this light. And then this reflected light looking like this is too light for the shadow part, even for a reflected light area. So be very careful, I will repeat, when you are mixing different references. It messes with the painting. If you have a reference of the plum and then the other, try to be in the same area when you were taking a picture of one plum, and then you can't just turn to the different direction, then take another reference. You are moving and changing the angle of the light source. And stem of this plum tree is much, much darker. Look at this stem. It's way darker. And your stem looks unfinished. If you will add a little bit more darkness to the stem, it will instantly go deeper and create this contrast and illusion. This stem could also be a little bit deeper, but the plum, the overall color of the plum and form of the plum is amazing. Just a little bit more contrast maybe, but again, you need, for example, this plum has here shadow because I think light is coming from this direction, but you changed it and now it is here. So add a little bit more shadow. And to keep, your question was about how to keep those halftones without messing with this color. It's with contrast. You already have the right color here for these halftones. And to make this pop, this plum to pop out of the page, you need to add contrast in the shadow. And that's it. Yeah, but again, this is all kind of tricky when you are mixing references. Be very careful with that. You need to understand where's the light source coming, how these leaves are interacting with each other with this plum. For example, this leaf is casting shadow. This one is covering some light source. And shadow is here. Here's cast shadow area. And yeah, need to be very careful with the references. Then we have this peony, and the problem was with the middle part. And the problem to be solved, you don't need to just paint this. You already had left the stamens. Great. Don't paint with this middle area. Just paint it like without, because if we look closer here, there's still a lot of stamens, and behind those stamens, petals are visible there and here and here, but you just covered. A little bit more patience, more stamens, a little bit darker could be added, and then you could paint the petals. make them this part of the peony. Let's zoom out. This part of the peony is darker because it's deeper. And you could add more layers and carefully paint between stamens. There's no special technique, there's no tricks. It's just a patient work with the brush between stamens. And if you did with masking fluid, why did you paint it over this area? Or you masked all this area with the masking fluid? So I even find it quite difficult after I remove masking fluid to work on the stamen area. There are some cases when the masking fluid is a must, but I find it much easier to work without it, especially here. These stamens are, and you don't need to paint all those 1000 stamens. You can have these few stamens and the viewer will understand that there's stamens inside this peony, but everything else is petals behind those stamens. And this coloring shouldn't be done. Then this part could be darker, look, compare with this part. And yeah, this can't even tell which petal is going where. Look carefully, this is darker. You have it the lightest one. Then this part is going darker. You are missing shadow a lot of areas. But yeah, more careful observation and don't need to rush things. Realistic painting, it's not for quick solution, it's not for rushing things. Here I didn't get the reference photo. This is a painting from a student, and I like to see paintings from this lady. She's working really hard and trying and amazing. I don't know the reference, but what I can say, why are these dark lines? I think this flower would also look without these dark lines very good, and a little bit more contrast in the middle part. A little bit more shadow with the stem, but other way it's looking good. You are doing great. There's so many light, and that is amazing. Then I have a peony, and first of all, I will mention when you are taking a photo of your work, try to have, well, I will show you, for example, here is it. I will stop sharing to show you. So here is the painting and here's the phone. Right above, right straight, not like this, not like this, like this, like this. Yes, this is the best way to take a photo of your work. And then look, you kind of change the angle. I can see the page line here, it's not straight. And now it is hard to tell, is it stem so big or it's just because the angle is changed. But what I can say, you did a good work. A little bit rushed through the leaves. You could add a little bit more patience there. And maybe it is a thing of a photo. It looks like it's too saturated, but I also received a few other photos and they all look too saturated. Maybe it's because the you edited the picture, but now it looks, if it's like this is like original, then these parts are too saturated, more transparent layers. But if this is a problem of the phone, sometimes phone makes paintings look too saturated, then don't bother what I'm saying. But if that is the case, that this is like original, then you are painting too saturated, more transparent layers, and it will keep you time and place to add more layers to make it more lifelike and more fluffier and richer. When we are painting saturated, we are making it, yes, dark quite fast, but also making it looking a little bit dull or flat. This poppy is looking really beautiful. I like these leaves, how these little folds, and maybe you could add a little bit shadow here to make it more contrasty, but other way it's beautiful. Again, I think it's a matter of maybe editing picture. There's also there was a question from the student how to not get dirty looking and muddy watercolors, especially greens. With greens, it's if you get a dark, maybe muddy looking green mix, few things. Too many pigments are mixed together. If there are too many pigments, they start to create mud look. Other thing, if you add too much red pigment, it will instantly make any green watercolor mix brown. So be careful with red mix, with red pigment. I add to my greens red pigment, but when I add, I always say, use a really teeny tiny small amount of red pigment. It makes green mix more earthy, very beautiful, but if added a little bit too much, brown, dirty looking green watercolor mix. And to make more clean watercolor mixes, lesser amount of pigments are mixed, the better. The cleaner, the more brighter they're gonna look. And if you have, for example, 5, 6, and 7 pigments mixed together, better wipe it off and start again. I mix 3, max 4 pigments. I try to even mix 2 to 3. That's the best thing. Sometimes I even make those watery washes with clean pigments. For example, we can go over with very transparent lemon yellow and then go over with very transparent ultramarine blue, and they will create this glaze and they all will shine through. That's the beauty of watercolors. They're letting light shine through the layers and interacting with each layer of yellow, layer of blue, and they will create this nice green mix. Here with this dandelion bud, leaves are missing shadow here, and this light area is too light because this is like the lightest part, then everything here goes into the shadow. Then we have amaryllis. Sorry. Amaryllis flower, beautifully done. I can see that you put in work and effort. I couldn't find the reference. It was from, I think, already more than a year, almost 2 years ago. I think I saved it somewhere, but I couldn't find the reference. But I can clearly see that the light is where it should be. More shadow here. This one is completely away from the, wait a second, I think I know where's the reference. I will open it. Yep, found it. Yeah, I forgot that it's there. Sorry. Yeah, we have a reference, and now we can share screen. Yep. So, as I was telling, this one is completely in the shadow, and this area could be darker. Also, stem here could be a little bit darker. This part also darker because it goes way inside. Light is perfect here and here. More shadow to this part. Look, it curves and goes inside the flower. Shadow here, and this part you have completely light, the same light as this one, but we need to make it darker. Also a little bit here. But other way, it's really beautiful. You really put work in this amaryllis flower. Then we have dahlia flower. Wait a second, I will open the reference. And this is a really tricky flower because of so many petals, but also work is done beautifully. Let's compare to the reference. Carefully with the separation of these little petals, more contrast to the middle parts. Look here, here, this one here, this one here. Look how dark and deep it is. No need to have this. Also, this one, it looks like it's completely open, but look, we need this little, like it's a tunnel. There's these little tunnels going inside the flower head. And here you missed it completely. But yeah, I know, I remember painting it. I loved it, but it was really time-consuming work because of so many petals, and each needs to be painted separately. You can't just finish it quickly. More contrast. Hydrangea flower. Oh, wait a second. I will open the reference. Yeah. My voice is shutting down. But okay. So here we have a beautiful hydrangea. This is a tricky one, and leaf, you didn't include all the leaf, but leaf is amazing. You cut the part of the leaf and your leaf is really amazing. You did a nice work here, and veins are so fine. Everything looks good. Everything looks good. Leaf was here the trickiest part, not the flower. Leaf is done really good. Don't cut it off. And flowers. Looks good. Maybe a little bit more layers would be nice to these flowers. Wait a second.
Close.
There we go. Oh,
yes, okay. Hi. I
Can
start
you
to
hear me?
talk. No, yes, it's okay. I start to talk with others. I
Sorry,
thought it was
ladies,
busy.
I need
No,
to
it's okay.
finish. My
yeah.
baby's not letting me work today, and Zoom is playing tricks with me. I still have 1, 2, 3, 4. I still have 4 references, 4 paintings without feedback. Don't worry, I will make feedback maybe later today or tomorrow, or I will leave them for the next month. I will not take them out, no worries. And also I received leaves from online students, and I will make those feedbacks on Saturday for our online school. So no worries, everybody will receive feedback. And thank you very much for your work. You did amazing work. I received so many paintings, I was like shocked. And thank you for your patience. Thank you for your support. And online students, see you on Saturday. And also for the rest of the paintings, I will make a feedback separately. Thank you, ladies. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.